There's no conflict in this place. And it's so boring that the prince and all these kids are like, there's got to be something more to this world than just fishing all the time.
Yeah, then peace and joy.
Peace and joy and no bad guys and no monsters.
Nothing
and
to fight against, yeah.
And they're dying for some kind of conflict in their lives.
Yeah.
So with that being the setting, I think it would make a lot of sense for it to be this long intro with no battles, as long as there were puzzles or some other interactive element that was challenging in a different way. All alone in the middle of a vast blue ocean sits Estard, the only island in the world. It's a pleasant, peaceful isle, and two local lads named, in my game, it was Michael because I named him after myself, and Kiefer are thoroughly fed up with it. What luck then when the pair discover an abandoned boat just begging to be made seaworthy once more? What really awaits beyond the ocean? The boys' insatiable curiosity will soon lead them to answer that very question as they undertake an enormous adventure to unravel the hidden mysteries of their world. So that's essentially the premise of Dragon Quest VII. We have recently been on a bit of a Dragon Quest binge of sorts. It's hard. There's a lot of Dragon Quest games, but grew up with Final Fantasy. I was a big FF fan growing up. Never really deeply got into Dragon Quest, though I had played bits and pieces of different ones. And then just this last year with the release of 1 and 2 HD 2D. No, HD 2D. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
right?
HD 2D.
And then, of course, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D before that. And now Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined coming out now. We had both played Dragon Quest 11 back when that came out.
Yep.
And this being the 40th anniversary of Dragon Quest, it feels like the right time to deeply dive into this series and play through all the games. And so that was something that I wanted to do this year. And so right here at the beginning of the year with Dragon Quest VII Reimagined coming out, it's a pretty good time to get started on that, at least by diving into Dragon Quest VII. So we played the demo. There's a demo out right now.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I really enjoyed it. I did not have time to do what I would normally do, which is go back and play the the original game, which was on PlayStation 1. They also have a 3DS remake, which came out in like 2013 or something like that.
Yeah,
you had more time than I did.
I played the PS1 version.
Let's get your thoughts on the PS1 version from what you played so far.
Okay, so I can't remember how long I spent on the demo for Dragon Quest VII. It's not crazy long, maybe 3 hours?
Yeah, it's about a 3-hour demo.
Maybe 4, depending on how you do it, if you want to explore everything in the castle and stuff. It took me closer to 7 or more hours to get to that same point on the PS1 version.
Yeah.
So it covers almost double. What did you say? It's twice as fast to get to the same point in the current reimagined demo than in the original game. So the original game is way longer, at least for that beginning part. One of the big critiques of it is that you don't fight an enemy for 3 hours in the PS1 game. Yes. And that is not the case in Dragon Quest VII, although not really knowing the first one, I just played the demo for Reimagined first before I went back to play the original. And in the demo, I thought, wow, it's taken a while to fight my first battle. They throw in a little bit of a battle with the old man that isn't there in the original game just to kind of get you used to some of that before you then go elsewhere, way before you still fight I guess it would be your second battle. But in the original game, you go a really long time, and there's a huge dungeon full of puzzles and all sorts of things to solve that is just not there.
Cut completely.
Completely cut from this new one.
Wow.
Not to mention the script is totally different. The names for all the enemies and many of the characters and place names and stuff, it's all just been completely overhauled.
I imagine that the subtitle Reimagined was picked for a reason.
When I first heard it called that, I think we talked about this last week, I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. And while the game is great, me not having played the original, I could see people who did play the original being, maybe a little bit upset at what's happening right now to the game. Yeah. But me not having played Dragon Quest VII, I was like, oh, this is fun. Like my biggest qualms were maybe with the art style or something like that, or maybe the general simplicity of it. The game is a lot more thematically rich, I think, or deep in the PS1 version than it seems to be presented so far on the Switch. That's what I played it on.
Yeah. I was reading a couple of different articles from, I don't know if it was Kotaku or The Gamer or whatever website it was, RPG site maybe. Mm-hmm. And when I read, this is a faithful remake, I
wait, what?
Even having not played the original game, I sort of chuckled at that. I was like, is that really true? What would you say to that?
It's not at all. It is not at all, unless we talk about something that we have not brought up for a very long time, which is what is the spirit of a thing?
Sure.
Right? It's almost like a Planescape Torment question. Yes. What is the spirit of an art or something? And then it's like, okay, I don't know. That's an open-ended question that probably has 100 different answers or more, and that it's hard to say. Is it faithful? Well, in some ways, like you still are a dude. Like you read that thing at the beginning. Yeah, there's still a boat waiting to be seaworthy. You're still a restless kid who just can't wait to get off this, lonely island, Kingdom Hearts style. I actually found a lot of Kingdom Hearts parallels here.
That did feel.
If you like Kingdom Hearts, you like Dragon Quest. Like, I'm not even saying you will like it. I'm saying you already like it. You like Dragon Quest. If you like Kingdom Hearts, they're very, very, very similar.
You mean like just this specific Dragon Quest game, or do you mean like all
I think I mean this specific game. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have the experience to roundabout say all of Dragon Quest.
Sure.
But as I was playing this game, I was just like, man, this feels like Destiny Island's like beginning of Kingdom Hearts straight up. And even the art style being a little sillier, not afraid to be overly childish in certain respects, but still, you're still killing stuff with swords and whatnot. But in order to kind of, maybe the art style drove a lot of these decisions, but they changed the script a ton and took out a ton of references that used to exist in old 90s games that people don't really use as references as much anymore. Just funny jokes and things that used to be common. And it first off doesn't fit so much just in most modern games anymore at all. But also with this art style, it just doesn't seem to fit, right? It doesn't seem to fit with this cutesy, fun art style of, semi-chibi people, but Kiefer looks so strange. I get when I see Kiefer and he's looking all chiseled and masculine, but chibi and not and like young and like it looks like this it looks uncanny.
Yeah,
I think
he looks very Lord Farquaad to me.
That's right, with the big chin.
His chin is massive, which so I thought was an interesting choice because generally speaking, cartoons are caricatures, right?
Yeah.
Anime is a type of cartoon.
That's true.
This is Akira Toriyama, famous creator of Dragon Ball and all that, right? Kind of his art style. But it's usually when you're trying to draw a young person, I think Kiefer's supposed to be 18.
Yeah, something like that.
You usually wouldn't make those sort of like super broad jaw choices because that makes a character look older.
Way older.
And in caricatures, you overemphasize those aspects in order to like age that character.
Interesting.
So the fact that they used such broad facial features on such a young person, I thought was an interesting choice. I don't know enough about that character yet. I don't know enough about to determine like why that choice might have been made.
Yeah.
I've never played this game before. It's my first time ever playing it.
I am way beyond that now in the original game. I've been playing the original and I really like the original Dragon Quest VII. I like it a ton, and I wouldn't have played it without this demo. So to that end, I think that's awesome.
Keith is bringing up a good point.
Yeah.
You're forgetting that 18-year-olds are grizzled war veterans in JRPG worlds.
18 years is like 30 in a JRPG. That's like pretty old.
That's a very good point.
I'm surprised he doesn't have some gray, appearing on his chin, on the sideburns. But before I get too far ahead of myself in the differences and maybe some criticisms, it's really fun. The demo is really fun. I like it a lot. There are some choices with combat that I super agree with, especially being able to see the enemies and not have random encounters. I don't mind the random encounters playing Dragon Quest VII, which is something I was kind of surprised at. I feel like 7 got the timing right, and I don't mind it at all. But you can avoid enemies altogether in this new demo because you see them, and if you don't want to fight them, you go around them. There's also different levels of difficulties. I think there's 4 difficulties.
Yeah.
And in one of them, the enemies
was
don't even approach you.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head if I have seen this in any other game. I might have just skipped right past it in the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake or something, but I don't remember it. So
Yeah.
it allows you not only to choose between one of 3 difficulties, it is it's transparent in what that changes.
Yes.
So like on the easy mode, you do more damage.
Yeah.
Enemies are weaker. You gain more experience, more proficiency, more money.
More money. And they don't...
The enemies don't
approach you.
On the field.
Yeah.
They don't like run after to attack you.
Right.
You bump up to the next one, the damage is normal, the enemy strength is normal,
Medium.
you get normal experience on all that stuff.
Right.
It's normal money. The enemies do approach and try to attack you. And then on the hard mode, it's like less experience, less money, less proficiency. You do less damage. The enemy strength is higher. But then they allow you to customize
To sub-optimize it, yeah.
however you want.
Sub-optimize, that's actually probably not the right word. But sub-categorize.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go into easy and then select and change those. You can have a completely custom difficulty level.
I thought this was cool.
That's wild.
Because you could essentially set the game to be hard in terms of enemy difficulty, you doing less damage, and all that.
Yeah.
But you can just say, I want to earn more experience and more money and more proficiency because I don't want as much grind.
But when I fight, I want it to be a good fight.
Yes.
But I also want to be well rewarded so I don't have to fight as often.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
You essentially just cut down the grind.
That's pretty cool.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great decision as far as I'm concerned. I thought that was interesting. Of course, it's just a demo. There's not enough time to really like test that out and see like where that goes in terms of how balancing ends up being. But I just thought it was a great idea to like give that as an option if you're like, man, I just don't want to grind as much. I want a hard mode, but I don't want to grind like that. That's cool.
But I don't want the game to be 100 hours long. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool too. There's also a thing that they do with the enemies where once you're over leveled to a certain point, the enemies that you fight, if you get first strike, if you hit them before they touch you or you touch them, it will kind of say like, okay, you don't actually have to enter the battle mode. You just do away with them right away. So if they're too low level, then it gives you like a third to a quarter of, or something like that, of the experience and money. And it's just done right then and there.
That's cool.
So you just walk up and it's like anytime you attack an enemy and they just disappear, and then it says at the bottom, you got 5 experience points and 3 gold coins.
Nice.
It's just like sick. I didn't have to do the battle because it was just slimes and I would have destroyed them anyways. But it's just like quality of life improvement. It's just saving you some time, not having to load the menus and select all of your attacks each time. Another very big difference. The Dragon Quest VII lets you customize quite a bit in battle. You have something. It's not necessarily a gambit system, but that's the only word that I can think of. They let you customize the friendly AI.
Yeah.
To some degree, right? You can tell them don't use magic. You tell them what to do, right?
Wait a minute. So in Dragon Quest VII, the original game, are you only controlling your one hero in battle?
That's the thing. You are at first until you change it. You can switch it to manual.
Oh.
You can switch it to manual,
so it's a little
but
bit
you
like,
have to do that yourself.
It's a little bit like the original Persona 3 in that end.
Yes,
right? You
that's
only
right.
play as one character in Persona 3.
Yes, and the others just kind of do what they do.
And you have to kind of tell them, hey, I want you to act this way or that way. But in Dragon Quest VII, you can
there's a manual option at the bottom
to where you can customize.
And I did that very quickly because in the demo I played, you're controlling all of them, right? I'm just like attack, like we're good.
Yeah.
With this one, I didn't know that I could do that until I went into the options, and I was like, oh, whoa, I can, because my characters were spamming magic attacks on little slimes all the time, and I'm just like, stop wasting your MP, this is ridiculous. Finally, I found the option of like, you can change their priorities basically, and you can say don't use magic, and then as soon as you find a difficult boss, you can go right then and just say okay, now use magic, right? And then just like checking a box, and then they'll be more powerful for that round. You just got to remember to change it again afterwards if you want to preserve MP at all. But there's a manual option at the very bottom. So unlike Persona 3, I don't think Persona 3 gives you that option at all, because the game's all about relationships with other people. You're not controlling them, I guess. Can you control manually the other characters in Persona 3? Because I've been playing Persona 3 and I'm not.
In the remake version, You can.
You can.
In the
okay.
remake version, they add a whole system that's, I think, lifted straight from Persona 5,
Oh,
where
I
like you
see.
can do like these tag team type attacks, and
Yes,
so they
yes,
give you
yes.
control over all 3 of the characters.
Okay.
But in the original version, you can't. You
can't.
just control the main character.
Okay. So I'm playing Persona 3 Portable, so the PSP version. And in that one, I don't know that I can't. It's just at the moment I don't, and I haven't looked through the pause menu to see if there's an option to enable it.
Yeah.
But for Dragon Quest VII, there is. And so now I'm manual for everything, so I don't need to worry about their AI system for battles. But with the demo, it just starts you on manual. So I think maybe they determined like this is what most people want.
Right. I would assume so. I mean, at least for the purposes of the demo, I mean, I fought maybe 3 battles total in an hour and a half. So it's not like you're fighting a lot anyways.
No, until you get to the point where it's like, now I need to grind, and then you're fighting a ton.
Even in those battles, hadn't even learned any real skills yet. It was just attack.
Yeah,
so it's not like there's much to manage or tactically, account for.
You're right.
Until you get to, I would say, the later bosses.
But also you don't even learn the spells and skills until later on anyways. So at the very beginning of the game, I think Maribel has a couple that you could use.
Yeah, wasn't she have like sizzle or the fire attack or fizz or whatever it's called?
That's right, yeah. And then Kiefer has some skills, but he doesn't really do magic. And then your character can kind of do both. Yeah. The more attacks you learn, then the higher MP you have, and then then everything gets more complex at that point. But at the beginning, it's just like, you're just spamming the attack button the whole time.
Right.
But I did grind quite a bit, even in the demo, just for fun. I kind of wish I didn't, but my assumption is I didn't know when the demo was going to end. So I'm grinding, and then I go to the next place and it's like demo's over. And I'm like, oh shit, I just wasted some time thinking I was going somewhere, and okay, it didn't work out that way, but whatever. The game is really fun. I think it's extremely fun. The demo did make me want to play the full game, but going back and playing the original is what really lit a fire in my soul. And I'm going to play the entire Dragon Quest VII for the PS1 probably before Dragon Quest VII Reimagined even comes out.
Yeah. As far as I understand it, again, I have not played this game before. My first time ever trying Dragon Quest VII. From what I've read from people that I know, like other YouTubers and stuff, whether I'm reading their social media posts in the lead up to this release, they've talked about how tedious Dragon Quest VII, the original game, can be in terms of its grindiness. It's just like overload of like questing and like
fetch quests.
That's
and stuff.
like the kind of like tedious type of questing.
Gosh.
Where it's not uncommon and in fact is quite normal to be playing the game for longer than 150 hours, which is like insane even in RPG terms.
I'm doing the math because I see how many pedestals there are and how many each one of them represents a world and how I've only been to 2 of them, and I've already put in 10 hours in the game, and I'm just like, okay, I see that. Who knows? I may not be able to end up finishing the whole thing, but I will say I love it so far. I don't mind the grinding at all. Don't mind random encounters. Don't mind the fetch quests. Don't mind any of it, except for at 2 points where when I say I really love playing older games and I'm getting way into it and it's super fun, I mean that with the assistance of artificial intelligence and Google searches and guides that's kind of
make it faster.
Exactly. Because there was one point in Dragon Quest VII where I was so at a loss of what to do. I was getting very frustrated. I couldn't even get to the point where the demo ended. And I'm on the PS1 version, and I'm like, I need to at least get to the point where the demo is to see that all the way through. And I could not find the one thing I need to do because it's different. These games are very different. They're very different. You could say it's faithful in some ways, but it's as different a game as you can imagine, while maybe still getting away with the faithful word. Like the ways you get into places is completely different. The characters you need to talk to, completely different people. The things you need to do in order to move on, all the puzzles, and it's just everything is completely different in this reimagined version. And so I thought that I was like, well, I've played the demo, like I know what to do. No, I didn't. And there were several points where I just had to stop and ask, my browser what to do next. And luckily it was able to pull through and help me, which was awesome. But without that aid, I would probably feel the same way that, oh my gosh, Dragon Quest VII, there was like 2 parts where I just was at a loss and it took me forever. But with the aid of modern tools, I don't see myself really having any issues with it at all.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that real quick, because there's a couple things I noticed in playing the demo, even having never played the original, that I was like, I think they added that because that's exactly the kind of thing that people would have complained about in a PS1 era or earlier era RPG. Yeah. It being confusing. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. I am lost.
Just talk to everyone. Just talk to everyone always.
They've added this feature where your party members who are in the party with you, if you press, I think it would be the B button on like Xbox,
to talk to them.
Or would be, I don't know what it is on Switch. But it allows you to have a conversation with them, and they kind of like give you hints and point you in the direction of where to go.
And even the PS1 sort of did have that. You can always, because it still has the same menu from Dragon Quest 1.
Really?
The menu of like, you're just in the middle of nowhere, you push A, or well, I guess it's...
whatever button for
circle,
actions.
The one on the right. And then it brings up your whole menu, and you can say look, or you can say talk, or you can manage your team, or it's almost like a pause menu. But if you just say talk, it usually says there's no one to talk to, and it's like, or look, there, you looked under your foot, there was nothing there, and it's like, is this one of those games? Like, but it's not. There's another button you can push. I think it's a triangle button, and that's your action button. Whatever's relevant, it just does it, right? Oh, okay. So if you're talking to someone, but if you're pushing what you would think like is the X button, basically it just brings up your menu where it gives you all those options. Now, sometimes you do have to do that. Sometimes you're with a character, and if you just hit triangle, you'll talk to them. But what you really need to do is push the look option. Anyways, that's you can be upset about that. I understand that. I didn't mind it at all. It's very fun. It's pretty clear what you need to do when that happens. But if you walk and you have someone in your party, even in the PS1, and you just talk in the middle of nowhere and there's no one to talk to, it talks to the person. Oh, okay. And they don't always tell you very useful information. In fact, the most common thing is so and so is lost in thought, right? And it's like, okay.
That's interesting.
They didn't say anything, but they will sometimes tell you relevant things about your current quest.
Yeah, because I felt like in this version, for my taste, and you know, understand this is a grizzled old RPG vet at this point. I've played so many of them that these things are intuitive or easy to me.
Yes.
They're not going to be for somebody who's never played an RPG before.
That's totally true.
So, you know, it felt like they were almost in a what was the name of the Fee from Skyward Sword?
Skyward Sword.
Like over-explaining with hints, right?
Yeah.
Like leading you on before you've had a chance to really think about it or even go look for yourself. And it's like they're already leading you on where to go a little bit.
What did you think about in Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, the exclamation point that's over everywhere you need to go next?
Yeah, that's the same. That's common in modern games.
It is.
It's just a waypoint that tells you exactly where to go. And that is leading too. It's like you don't have to do much in the way of actually searching. It just like tells you where to go all the time. And
I kind of just like the old ways.
I do
suppose.
too.
Yeah.
I do too. I think
it's a little too much.
I think we talked about this in our video on Dragon Quest 1 HD 2D.
Yeah.
Where there were, in a lot of areas, I prefer like the original NES, like old school Dragon Warrior to the new game. Not like wholesale. There's a lot of the new stuff I like a lot too.
Me too. Yeah, quality of life.
But that's one thing is always putting a map marker on like important things, and there you lose a real sense of exploration, I feel like. But I also say that knowing that that's a very like there's a very niche group of people who care. Like I would say the vast majority. Like I don't blame the development team who make this game for like just going along with that trend. It's like the safe thing to do to make sure, and I'm sure they QA test the balls out of this. Oh yeah. But you know, they want to make sure that like your average mean, you know, person with the mean level of experience is going to be able to understand what to do next. And you having played a lot of games, being lost in the original is
several times,
probably a testament to the fact that they felt like they had to go this far to address that.
Yeah.
That's not really a criticism as much as it is just an observation. Yeah. That's what to expect from a modern RPG like this.
The difficult thing is I only got lost twice, but in order to ensure that I don't get lost those 2 times, you have to give me a waypoint all the time because you don't know which 2 parts I'm going to get lost on. So you have to always provide it. So then, I critique it both ways, I guess. Oh no, they didn't do it right. I prefer in-game narrative or visual devices that kind of point the direction more so than a specific like didactic, overlay on top of something.
I know some games,
it is what it is.
Some games allow you to turn waypoints off.
Yeah,
and I generally
right.
like that option. I didn't check this to see if this allows you to do that. I should have. I didn't realize this was going to be a point that got brought up.
I didn't check it either.
But
They might actually.
Maybe they have it. We'll correct ourselves
then just delete
later if that's the case. But that's, for all the customization they gave you at the beginning and choosing your difficulty and the level of experience you get.
I'd be surprised.
It would be interesting if they also gave you like a turn waypoints off, kind of way of customizing experience.
It seems that they can be removed from the map or the mini-map, but not the overworld and in-game.
That would, in my opinion, that would help the game quite a bit. But as it is, the game's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have much negative to say about the demo until I played the PS1 version. And then I'm like, whoa, if you were a fan of the original, this is not a remake.
Yeah, you might need to be ready for that. You might need to be ready for that. And of course,
be prepared.
We just recommend going and downloading the demo. It's free, playing it for yourself. And if you're a fan of the original, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as to, if you're okay with the things they cut or changed or not.
It's a lot.
But from my understanding, the intro was so long and had so much you had to do to get through it that I could see it being a pretty common critique, and probably was, that you don't even fight any monsters for hours. Now, there is a part of me that thinks that this game could exist as an exception to my general rule.
Yeah.
My general rule with RPGs of this kind is if I'm not controlling the character and at least like in an area where I can start fighting battles within the first 45 minutes to an hour within that window, your intro's too long. Yeah. That's generally my rule. You don't need to info dump and like have just conversation after conversation for hours and hours on end before you fight a real battle or feel like you're really playing the game. I criticize Persona 4 for this a lot. And a little bit of like the Trail series for this. But this game, I think, could be the exception to it.
Yeah.
And in this way, and you've played the original, so you tell me what you think.
Okay.
They are setting up from the start that this is a world of peace.
Yes.
There's like
I was going to bring this up.
A whole lot of characters you talk to. There's like, I think there's like one of the knights in the castle or somebody like that in town who says something like, I found this old, like, kind of like seemingly abandoned storeroom with tons of weapons inside of it. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't make sense. Why would you need weapons in a world where everything's peaceful and wonderful? And then you talk to some old guy who says, the story is that, thousands of years ago, the great spirit of good and the great spirit of evil fought. And then eventually the great spirit of good won.
Right.
And now that's why we live in this world of complete peace and safety. Mm-hmm. And then he says, what's that? You're asking what happened to the spirit of good? Don't poke holes. It's just a story. And then just this whole idea that they're trying to push on everyone like this island is the only landmass that exists in the entire world. Yeah, it's just endless ocean outside of this. There are no other places to go or live. Yeah. This is it.
Right.
And so they emphasize this at many, many points. And they allow you to just walk around the castle. It's like, it's a world of such peace.
True. Yeah.
Right? They really emphasize that. You can walk into the king's bedroom.
I was shocked at that. I was like, oh, because there's a guard there. And I'm like, they're not going to let us in. And the guard is like, just don't steal anything while you're there. And it's like the king's bedroom.
Yeah.
People can walk in. And even when you talk to the guards at the front, they're like, this is the people's palace.
Yes.
Like you are welcome here.
Yes.
Whoever you are.
Yeah. And there was another guard who you talked to, I think, near the staircase that leads up to like the royal throne room. And he says something like, you aren't allowed in here, get out, or something like that. Sorry, I just never have a chance to act tough. right?
That's so
So
funny.
he's like, I just wanted a chance to act like a real guard, in a
guard.
time of like
serious.
actual, there's I have to protect something.
Right.
That doesn't exist in this world. So they build this up and they point to it so many times that to me, it makes perfect sense for there to be this long span of time where it's almost a table flip on what you would commonly expect, because the world is a table flip from that. It's not a dangerous world as far as they're aware. And you're going out there trying to discover the mysteries of the world, but essentially looking for the trouble. You're looking for the conflict. That there's no conflict in this place. And it's so boring that the prince and all these kids are like, there's got to be something more to this world than just fishing all the time.
Yeah, then peace and joy.
Peace and joy and no bad guys and no monsters.
Nothing to fight against,
And they're dying for some kind of conflict in their lives.
Right, yeah.
So with that being the setting, I think it would make a lot of sense for it to be this long intro with no battles, as long as there were puzzles or some other interactive element that was challenging in a different way.
Yeah, which the old game does have.
Is that essentially what?
Yes.
So that makes sense.
Here's the best high five to what you just said, is the fact that when you have that first battle, that first encounter in the place you go after the initial stage, the characters are just shocked. Like, what was that, a monster?
Yeah.
Did we just, are monsters real? Like, I've never, like, they're all just shocked and almost just like their whole world is shattered. Like, monsters exist. We just encountered a monster. This is insane. This doesn't happen ever. And this place is full of monsters, It's really a shocking moment. And that is a very well sold in, I think, all the versions of the game, really. But in the original game, especially because of all the puzzles you're doing, you almost get lulled into this idea that it's a puzzle game. That's both a critique and a feature, a credit to the game.
It's so
that they
tough.
accomplished it very well, that when you fight a monster, you as the player are kind of shocked. Like, whoa, I just did a fight. And then the characters are all talking with each other. Like, did we just fight? Did we just have to defend ourselves from something?
See, that's one of those things where I think it's really like regretful that this had to be Dragon Quest VII. So there's already 6 games of expectation.
That's true, yeah.
And so this I could have
And they were all very popular.
This was a kind of a huge risk as like a world concept, and to like not have monsters to fight for so long. That like
comparison.
A big group of people might have been very loud in saying like, why does it take so long to have a fight? Because they're not getting like what they're going for.
Yeah.
Right? But I really liked that. I thought that was super unique. And the fact that they've chosen in this remake to cut down so much on that intro and to make it much shorter, it's still long, but it's not nearly as long. And I think they've done this twice. I think the 3DS version was cut down significantly.
It did. They cut that down quite a bit.
And then they've cut it down even more significantly from that now.
Yes.
And I, as like someone who's trying to like think about it from the artist's perspective, I feel like that's just too bad that you felt the need to have to like capitulate rather than find a way to keep it, but just make those puzzles and other interactive elements interesting enough to where no one would throw that complaint out there. Why am I not fighting a monster?
So the 3DS did that. What the 3DS tried to do was preserve the puzzles, but they changed the puzzles. There's puzzles in the 3DS that were not in the PS1 version, and they're easier, and they're shorter, and they're quicker, and each time you go to one of these rooms, like to get an item, it's the same puzzle that you have to do. It's a different way to do it, but it's the same kind of puzzle. So the 3DS kept that puzzle element, but just simplified them, whereas the Reimagined deleted them. It completely cut them out.
Wow.
So I think the 3DS did what you're suggesting they try and do. And I don't know if the 3DS didn't sell as well. Can I check that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Was a critical success, the 3DS version, praised for its modernization. An 81 out of 100 on Metacritic. I don't know if they wanted a 90. I doubt this new Reimagine's going to get a 90.
We'll see.
Improvements. Players reviewed the shift. Sales. It was a major hit in Japan. They were lower. Western sales were lower. See, they're just
that's always been
they're
the case.
just trying to win the Western market.
I think that's true, and
at
that's
all
too bad.
costs. Yeah, that's
too bad.
unfortunate.
especially with games
Wow.
that are real slow
This is
burns
crazy.
at the beginning that are really popular.
Only 49,000 copies were sold in the U.S.
Are you serious?
In the first couple days, whereas in Japan it sold 1.2 million.
Yeah. That has always been Dragon Quest's problem. It's like the opposite problem of Final Fantasy. Not necessarily the opposite, but just Final Fantasy was more popular worldwide, globally, than it was in Japan.
Yes.
And Dragon Quest is a total opposite of that. It's like a way bigger hit in Japan than globally. And I think they have been kind of trying to get it to be more popular.
I think I know why.
That said, I think the more recent Dragon Quest remakes and re-releases have done quite well.
Yeah, me too.
Globally. So.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. So like the 3 and 1 and 2.
Yeah, like those recent HD 2D, not HD 2D. What is it? HD.
They call it HD 2D.
Is it called HD 2D?
Yeah, the
okay.
Octopath
HD
style.
2D, whatever.
Yes.
Yes. I think they did really well.
Well, I hope it gains in popularity. I also hope that one day they feel confident enough to remake Dragon Quest VII instead of reimagining it. I think it would be pretty cool because I'm having an absolute blast with the game. And I think it's super fun. That being said, I think I'm going to play this reimagined version as well because I really did enjoy it. Before I knew what I was missing out on, I really did like playing it.
Well,
so I think I'm going to see it through.
What I'm curious about is whether it's just kind of this intro that's like radically
That's a good
different.
question. That's a good,
and then the rest of it might more or less fall in line with exactly. With some changes here and there. I know that they've changed some things about the battle system. I know that they've added to where I think you can do more than one vocation at a time.
Oh, for the jobs,
for like the job or the class system.
Mm-hmm.
Little adjustments such as that. But I wonder if like story-wise and like dungeons, if it'll more or less fall in line after that intro's over. If that was people's like biggest problem with like the pacing of the original game. I just think it's too bad that people reacted that way.
Yeah.
And that's not to blame the audience. It's just to say maybe there was another way to approach it to where they helped people understand what they were going for with that. Because I felt like I did, even in playing this version.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can see where if I know I've been told this is way shorter, there must have just been this absurd span of time with no battles. And that must have really ticked people off. But I see them thematically going for something here that would have required no battles.
Right.
It requires really stating the fact that this world is so like in this, I don't know what you'd call it, almost like damned state. It's of no progress.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It just stays the same all the time. It doesn't move anywhere. There's no innovation. There's no forward progress. It's just like frozen and isolated, and nothing exciting ever happens there. But it's peaceful, and so it's like this trade-off, that the younger generation is now saying like it's not a good trade-off. We need something to do here.
This is where I've thought, it's like you want the trade-off, and often the trade-off is you go out there and find the adventure, but don't invite the adventure here. Preserve your homeland while finding adventure elsewhere. And that line that you read at the beginning where it's like, they live in a peaceful, wonderful island village and they're sick of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, that totally makes sense. But that is a them problem.
Yeah.
This island is pretty good and nice for the fishermen and for, the people who like FF8, the Fisherman's Horizon people.
Yeah.
It's like that's the society they wanted to build and they're quite content with it. If you aren't, don't invite it to you. Instead, go out and seek for it. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're finding a lot more of it than they bargained.
For. And that's the turn, right? That's like
and then, of course, it ends up coming to them.
Yeah, they end up
island.
inviting it and like kind of ruining that piece. But
we'll see where it ends up.
I would think as the story goes on, it's proven that like that kind of like moves things forward.
That things can be better in a mutual way instead of the isolated way. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's more or less kind of like
now,
the what's the word I'm looking for? The idea of the story, at least for like the opening hours or whatever.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I thought it was kind of an interesting mystery.
Yeah.
It's not like it's Dragon Quest. It's not like overwritten or going for something super deep. It's just kind of trying to give you an interesting, fun, bright, and colorful little world that
Yeah.
you can, sort of have fun running around in. But I liked it quite a lot. And one thing that I took note of in terms of how the game is designed visually, and I wondered how much of this would come across in the older versions, not having played them, because the original game is very much still like a top-down. They have 2D character sprites.
2D sprites in a 3D polygon world, sort of Xenogears like, or Star Ocean.
Can you move the camera around, or is it
can.
fixed?
RNL,
Oh, okay.
RNL, you can.
Okay.
So it's very similar to Xenogears in that way.
Okay.
You can swivel the camera. You can even, there's a button you can even push that kind of zooms the camera out for a minute while you're holding that button, and then you can kind of get a lay of the land a little bit. I don't think that existed in the reimagined version.
I don't think it does either.
But you can do that in the PS1 version.
Okay.
You don't have the lateral, like the up and down
Yes.
control. It's mostly just left and right. So I guess that is lateral. You don't have the long
the vertical.
You don't have the vertical axis. You're just horizontally. You are only lateral movement is what you have. Whereas in the Switch with the R stick, you can kind of look up and tilt the camera if you want to.
And it gives you a little bit of that. But I liked that it doesn't let you come down very far.
Right.
Like even
You're
at
always-
the lowest pitch or altitude, I suppose,
there you
you're
go.
still in very much a top-down view.
Yes, mostly.
And
yeah.
I liked that about this reimagined. They're not like letting you move that camera down and look at the sky and look like all around.
Yeah.
And it's because, and we've kind of stated this over and over and over again through our podcasts going back years now, this was always kind of the intention of these old school JRPGs, was they're meant to look like a diorama, a little stage.
This game totally looks like that.
That's exactly the feel I get from it.
Me too.
And not even just in the gameplay, even in
There's
the
like
opening
the focal,
movie.
the focus.
I want to talk about that too,
Okay.
but in the opening movie, they'll have scenes play out where it's just a black space and like a rectangular map sitting in like a black void. They're not like filling out the horizon, so
That's
to speak,
cool.
right?
That's cool.
They're treating it like this is a little separate map on a table, and then this is a separate one, and then this is as if they've built like many dioramas for each of the locations in the game, right? That's what it feels like when you're looking down at it with that camera. And I'm glad that they never let you break that illusion of the top-down view.
I see.
I feel
see what
like
you mean
that's a very faithful camera choice to the old school RPG formula and the way they were meant to look, because they very easily could have made the characters taller and more proportionate, like they do in games like Dragon Quest 8 or 11 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They
right.
could have done that.
And
They
just-
could have. They
yeah.
could have taken the original characters and just like made them taller and
Right.
more human-like. But they keep them little chibi clay-looking people.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're supposed to be in the original concept.
Well, in that sense, this game is quite faithful.
Yeah, I
original.
really liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. And so, like, as far as the way the game looks and feels and sort of like the plasticky clay nature of it.
The shininess of some of the enemies you see, you can almost see the light glinting off of them as though they're like a balloon or something like that.
Yeah.
But it looks artificial in a sense. But
Yeah.
I think it looks
I
really
really
cool.
liked the look.
Yeah.
And I don't know where like the majority of Dragon Quest VII fans fall in this. It'll be interesting to see what people think, but it almost reminds me a little bit of the Dragon Quest movie that they made.
Oh, yeah,
in
Your
terms
Story?
of like how the characters' faces look.
Yeah.
They're not quite as chibi in that movie as they are here. It's like more so that way in this, but like their faces reminded me a little bit of that, where it's not like full on Dragon Ball Akira Toriyama faces. Some of them look more that way than others.
Right.
But there seems
like
to be
the cross-eyed kind of.
the little kid that,
But the way when they're looking straight, they're like always cross-eyed.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I was a fan overall of how the game looks and how it feels, more importantly, to be playing in it. Because like you said, they'll have this sort of almost like tilt shift effect?
Yeah.
Where you
where
get
it looks
this
like a miniature.
Yeah, this type of photography or cinematography is meant to take like a high up view of a real city and make them look like a diorama or like toys or something, right? There's this real like heavy sort of like blur that gives that effect.
Right, yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about it in video games where I've seen it, because I feel like they're still just not able to render like genuine like focal length blur in real time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a faked version of that.
Yeah, it's a faked blur.
They're
it's
like
not,
putting a little like kind of just like a overlay filter for the blur. It's not like real camera blur.
Right,
like
and you can tell that with
blur.
like the specular highlights and stuff, how they behave with an actual lens blur is quite different from how they behave for just like a filter.
Like I know when I do visual effects projects and things like that, like for my work, for example, I do a lot of sort of like 3D pushes onto things like websites or like documents and things of that nature that are like on a table, right? So one thing that I'll do a lot when I'm in After Effects to sell that effect is you turn on sort of like a camera lens or focus blur, right? And you can kind of like, you can rack the focus across things that you want people to read, like in line with the VO or whatever.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm doing my animations, I'm building my animations, I will turn off that blur because then I can see
render
the
faster.
move and I can play it in almost real time.
Yeah, yeah.
As soon as I turn that focal blur on, it starts, I mean, it's like 2 or 3 seconds to, or maybe even longer sometimes to render one frame.
Yeah, yeah.
So my suspicion is consoles and tech are just not up to the task to render like actual genuine lens blur in real time. So they kind of have to fake it. But still, the look sells the same idea.
Yeah.
They make these things look like they're little tiny, you know, characters running around on a little tiny board. And that, I think, does call back to the roots of RPGs, which is in tabletop gaming.
That's right.
Where people would make maps and have little miniature characters, and they would build dioramas, even the ones who got really into it, of like forests and trees and castles and rocks.
That's pretty
and
cool,
rivers.
actually.
And they would, you know, they have little square tiles.
Yeah,
and
or
your characters
octagon
get
or,
certain amount of moves depending on their agility or speed stats. It's a callback to that. I mean, that's how these games were meant to look and feel from the beginning, from their origins. They were all basing their systems and their design on Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop games. And so when I see a game like this, like really faithfully hold on to that, it's always something that I like to see and wish there was more of. That being said, it's being done a lot more in recent times. I keep saying, I want them to do more of this. And it's almost becoming a non-point because you're seeing it happen more and more.
It is happening.
So I'm glad to see that.
Me too.
I like it a lot.
It's almost like the whole HD 2D thing is basically made for this idea of the diorama, basically.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. One other thing I've thought of with reference to the battle changing so much and how you don't fight for so long. The Ultima games, Ultima 4, I think, or maybe it was Ultima 5, but Ultima 4 centers less on battling and more on like chivalry and honor. And it was less about the fighting aspects of a knight and more about the virtue cultivating virtue.
So like
basically.
Using charm and like talking through problems rather than fighting.
Yep. And also there are more puzzles to solve as well in that way, but it's ethical choices that you have to make that determine the outcome of the story. And this goes way back to the 80s. Ultima 4 is like a long time ago. But you know, that game also it got good reviews, you know. It was a very drastic departure from what Ultima 3 was, which is just constant, just like fighting. I played Ultima 3. I love Ultima 3 a lot. I think the game broke on. Unfortunately, I haven't beaten it yet because I think I encountered a bug, which often happened in some of these older games. But it was interesting for me to think about. This game kind of seemed to have been going in that vein. Like, oh, Dragon Quest VII, I guess it's more of a puzzle game. And then, psych, it's not. You're still fighting a ton of enemies. But you've got this backing of, I didn't know I was going to be doing that. I kind of had settled into the fact that this wasn't a fighting game for a little bit. I got lulled into, this false sense of security, which is what that island is. It's a false sense of security because there is more out there that people just aren't aware of it. but I think it sells. They sold it extremely well. The demo probably did it as well as you can do it, given their goals of trying to reach more of a Western audience and trying to simplify and get more into the actual loop of the game earlier instead of later. It achieved all of that stuff. I just didn't know what I was missing until I played the first. But I really like this new demo.
Yeah, I also wondered if even the demo itself had some stuff cut from it that will be
wondered
in
too. I thought about
the
that.
final game.
Because
the beginning seems really like to just snap you into the middle of things, so to speak. It doesn't feel like a proper intro.
But the game sort of does that same thing. The intro actually isn't that different.
The original game is the same?
The original where it's like they're going up and there's that sliding stone.
They push it out of the way.
And then you're just in the fisherman's village.
Okay, and then Maribel's just standing next to you and you talk to her? That's how it is in the original game? Because it goes from in the demo. It goes from Farquaad, what's his name?
Kiefer Sutherland.
And your character are like down where their raft is or whatever.
Yeah.
They push that rock off, and there's like almost a wipe to white. And then it comes back at nighttime in the village, and Maribel is standing next to you and complaining.
She's like, what have you been doing all day?
I'm going to find out what's been going on.
The original game does that as well.
So it's the same.
It's the same
okay,
intro.
So there's nothing missed.
You're not missing anything there. What you are missing is stuff that fills in the gaps between there and later on. There's more scenes with Kiefer. There's more things that you do with the old man or even your uncle, the guy
Pike.
Pike.
Yeah.
There and even Maribel and her family, all of this stuff. Like there's a lot more that happens and is fleshed out even with you and your parents in the village that happens in the original game, then happens in the demo. But in terms of just the first 5 minutes, that intro is the same.
Okay. So that was the only part where I was like, I wonder if I missed something there. That felt very abrupt.
I think it's supposed to be.
My introduction to my character and this girl Maribel be what seemed like the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? It like cuts you right into the middle of her complaining rather than her like finding you and being like, hey, and like starting a conversation.
Yeah.
You're like at the end of a conversation.
Yeah, it's the same.
Right after pushing a rock out of the way and coming up into broad daylight.
But what I loved is the mystery of what is down there because you can't get there. When you go back there, there's a message that says you would take 2 people at least to move this stone. And it's like, you can't. What were we doing down there? You don't even know what he's doing. But you know that there's some secret being held for Maribel. By the way, Maribel is way less bratty and obnoxious in the original game than she comes across here in the demo. It's like they retained all her bratty lines without any of like the good, sweetness of the original character.
Sure.
But she is still like that in the original game, but you have a lot more moments where she's actually being kind and generous. Whereas in this demo, it's all she's just stuck up brat the whole time.
Gotcha.
And I liked her character a lot better in the original game so far.
Got it. Okay, so
some people don't agree. They think she came off worse in the original. I think maybe my experience had a little bit more to do with the new addition of voice acting.
As far as like, let's talk a little bit about like where exactly they deviate, because the demo starts you off in the fishing village. She's complaining like, I'm gonna find out what you're up to, like, and she's mad at you. I actually really liked this line. I thought it was very funny because she says something about like, you're really not gonna tell me. And you get the option for yes or no. Yes being like, yes, I'm not going to tell you. And if you say no, which is what I said, she says, so you're not going to not tell me? I thought that was very funny.
I didn't choose that answer. I didn't know. I just said yes. Anytime people asked me, do you have a secret or are you keeping something from me or is there, I was always forthcoming. I would always say yes. In the original, Maribel is actually like kind of nice to you if you say yes. Whereas in this one, there's no nice option. She's always a jerk.
What do
She's
they
just
call
like,
that?
Oh, great. Thanks.
What do they call that character type in anime? The girl who's
tsundere.
always mad at you.
Yeah, they made her a little more tsundere.
So she's more that way now than she was.
They really accentuate, like you mentioned, a caricature. They extra caricaturized her in the demo, in the reimagined version. But in the original, I guess it depends on your answers. I was very kind and generous, and every time she'd accuse me of something, I would choose. It's always yes or no. You don't get more complex options, even in the original game. But I would always choose the one that would help out. It didn't help in the demo. She still was mad at me. But in the original game, she'll actually be like, oh, thank you. Oh, how kind of you. Oh, thank you. Well, I guess I got to go or something like that. So there's that difference there. But either way, I love the idea of the fisherman's expedition. Because if you're familiar with JRPGs,
I was immediately suspicious of this.
Yeah,
I thought the father and like the older the mayor or whoever, like the older characters, I thought they knew about the real world, and this fishing excursion,
and they were like, "You can't come,"
was like their way of like going out to do something
interesting,
hidden, or maybe something dangerous.
I didn't have that thought at all.
I guess that's not the case because
sorry,
as you well, not you didn't spoil that.
Yeah,
what happens in the demo spoils that. Like the kids end up finding. Right, like a portal to like another place, and it's like his father comes back from the fishing, and he really just caught a bunch of fish.
Yeah,
that's really
fish.
what it was.
Our best catch since 10 years ago. Yeah.
So
do they really only get to eat fish once a year? It's like
well, at least for this whatever festival they're having.
Okay, right? So it's like an extra fishing trip,
some sort of special time of year and a special day where they get these great hauls, or what they call them. They're Pritchards or Pritchfold or whatever the freaking thing is called. She makes a sandwich out of it. The mom does.
A sub. They call it a sub in the original game. It's a fish sub.
So anyways, it's like on the eve of that festival day. So you go to bed, you wake up the next day, you go give your father a sandwich. You catch her trying to be a stowaway on the ship.
Yeah,
and she gets caught and she gets pissed at you because she wanted to go on the boat. Father doesn't let you go on the fishing boat. They leave. You get called to the castle by the king because
which is unusual.
His son is friends with you.
Yeah,
and he wants you to try to help him get his son straightened out. He's being too crazy lately, too reckless. He's getting into too much trouble. So you go with Maribel, she insists on coming with you, to that town, and you go talk to the king. Have I missed anything? Have they cut anything at this point?
Sorry,
from the
I
original?
guess the short answer to that is no.
Okay, so far we're on track.
So far, yeah. It's once you get to the castle that things start getting very different.
So once you get there, you go talk to the king, and he's like, listen, here, you can't fool me.
Are you hiding?
I know you guys are hiding something from me. Yeah. And you can say yes or no.
Even if you say yes, he doesn't ask you what it is.
Yeah.
He just says, "Oh, thanks for being honest. I'll find out one of these days." You can just ask me, dude.
But then he tells you, go find my son and like help me talk him some sense into him.
Yeah.
So I guess you met with Kiefer before meeting with the king, and he's like, "Hey, I've been like getting all these old relics and stuff, like searching around. I'm going to go to this shrine over here on like the east side of the island. Meet me there later.
Yeah.
Just like fend off my old man for a minute so I have some time to get out of here." So that's what that whole scene was about. Then you go to him, and he tries putting a ring and this like sizzling stone.
Yeah, the sizzling stone is a whole separate quest thing that happens in the original game.
Okay.
This game, he just has it. But in the original game, you actually have to get that, and you get it from Pike.
Yes.
And that's why I was confused in the demo, where Pike was like, "You got my hot stone. Give that back to me." You haven't gotten there yet, but it's at the end.
Well, no, I did get to that
you
part.
did?
Yeah.
And in the original game, I don't... Do you remember in the demo taking that hot stone from him?
No. So the way that this is set up in the demo is that Pike is in trouble with his landlord because he hasn't paid his rent in 6 months. And he's just a mischievous, kind of a loser guy generally. He's always cheating people out of money, and he's just a nuisance to everybody.
Right.
But the landlord's like, "Dude, enough is enough. You pay me now, or I'm kicking you out of your house." And he's like, "Well, I have this sizzling stone that's worth so much money."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, I don't have it on me, but like I lost it, but like I need to find it. So I've had enough. So the idea, I think, here is that Kiefer stole that from him.
Oh, I see. In the original game, we take it from him.
Okay, so there's a whole separate quest
you show up
where you steal
and
that.
You get it from him.
Pike.
Yes, yeah.
That basically makes way more sense because he's pissed when he finds out you have that.
Yes,
he's like, "What?
My stone?" And he takes it. But in the original game, we took it from him.
Okay.
We're the ones who get that thing from his little house.
Yeah, here it's like inferred that Kiefer like pickpocketed that from him off screen.
Okay, I didn't catch that inference. We just had it.
So anyways, he has that.
Yeah,
and he puts that into the statue. He's trying to like get something to happen.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
And nothing happens with that. And so he tries this little fragment, this little map fragment tablet
also thing. A whole quest. It was skipped over a whole quest obtaining that fragment.
Kiefer just
so
has
you're two
these
quests
things.
deep. Yeah. Yeah, he had the ring. The only thing in the original game is he stole the ring from the castle and left.
Okay.
We have to get the hot stone. That's a whole thing with Pike. And then we have to get that fragment, which is a whole nother thing. You have to go into the castle, and there's like a certain place that you find it, basically. I can't remember if that has to do with the old man or not. But there's a whole fetch quest, basically, for that item. And then you come back. Because when you go there, basically, the first time you go to the shrine, Kiefer tries out the things. Oh, it didn't work. And as you're leaving, the voice speaks, right?
Yes.
I was shocked at this, too, because at the first time I went to meet Kiefer, Kiefer puts the stuff on, and he's like, oh, it didn't work out. And then he leaves, and I'm like, oh, here comes the voice. It didn't happen. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I leave, and I'm like, can I really just leave? And I left, and I was like, what do I do now? I am now in uncharted territory. I thought that the voice was going to speak and we were going to get to go to the shrine. No. Holy crap. Well, now that I think about it, Kiefer only had the ring. Where's that other stuff? That's when I was like, and you just have to talk to everyone all the time, everywhere you go.
Do they even have a dialogue sort of like foreshadowing beat where they're like, hey, this didn't work.
Yes,
maybe
Kiefer
let's go look
that.
around.
Yes, exactly that sentence.
Okay.
That is exactly what he says,
right.
But it's not that helpful because he doesn't give you any direction.
Okay.
It's just like, oh, well, I'm going back to the castle, but you keep seeing what else you can find out. And I'm like, okay. So I go to the fisherman's village, talk to everyone again, nothing happens. Go to the castle town, talk to everyone. Go to the castle, try to search every corridor. That castle design is pretty difficult. I think they retained it in the demo. I was just like, okay, is there any place here I'm missing? Because I'm going upstairs to here and then go across and then all the way down to the basement and then over to try and find something that I missed. And eventually you're able to find all that stuff, but it takes a while. It took me a long time to get those two items because I didn't know where to find them. And basically just always explore every corner of every room and always talk to everyone anytime you don't know what to do.
Okay.
And there was a time where there was another fragment and I ended up finding it later because it was just sitting on a table, but I didn't know. I talked to everyone, but I didn't go, and I even pushed triangle. I saw this fragment and I was like, oh, triangle, nothing happened. Oh, no, you have to push X, bring up the menu and select look.
Search,
then you get to, oh, what's this fragment doing here? And then you get the fragment. Just be aware of that, people. It's there. You just have to,
you have to look at it the right way.
And I did have to ask my browser, how do I get the thing? I'm missing a thing. And it told me some wrong thing, but eventually I came to a game FAQ basically that was like, oh, you have to literally just push X. The triangle doesn't work for this one. I was like, holy crap. But I only wasted like an hour, so it's fine. It was okay. It was okay.
That's what they're trying to avoid with this change.
I know.
It's just unfortunate that
they took it pretty far.
They have to cut instead of just making the quests more intuitive or whatever, or more streamlined, they've just cut them entirely.
They're just like Kiefer did it, and you're done.
Yeah. Okay. So then you put that in there, and then the voice speaks to you and says, you're not worthy yet. You need all the other stone fragments. Like there's 4 total.
That's when you have to talk to the old man.
So then you go to the old like hermit guy in Castletown. There's another one in... I think the father fished it.
Oh, it's the scroll. We mentioned the fragment. It wasn't the fragment. It was the scroll.
The tome.
And that's when the voice speaks to you or whatever. But the fragments you get to get into the shrine.
Yeah, so you get one shrine from your father. He found it while fishing.
Yeah.
You get one from the old hermit guy in the town. And then there was one.
There's one under the castle.
The last one is the one that Pike shows you where it's at.
Oh, that's right.
But only in return for bringing him 3 empty bottles.
That's right.
Because he wants to scam more people.
And they're just laying around. You just have to walk.
Same?
That one is different. That is totally different. The empty bottle thing doesn't happen.
So you don't have an interaction with Pike?
You do, but that's not what you do. They simplified the quest like heavily. Wow. They heavily simplified the quest. You have to go through a whole thing basically with him, and it takes a long time. And you're going downstairs. I've revisited the old man like 15 times before I ever got in the shrine. Wow. It took a long time. And then eventually you get all the pieces. I think it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's 4 total.
The glass bottle quest isn't. It's a new.
Okay.
And it's even like you can find I found like 7 glass bottles when I did the quest in the reimagined version. Whereas it was just easy. The bottles are just lying everywhere. Once he asks you to get them, and I'm just like, oh man, where am I going to get a glass bottle? They're just everywhere, just lying around. Just like walk around and go. The well has one, and in front of the door of a. Like one of the inn or something has one, and like they're all over, and then it takes like 3 minutes to do that quest. Whereas in the original game, it's a half hour, and then finally you can go back to Pike and get the thing.
All right, so
Yeah.
But then once you have all the stone fragments, then it opens the door
to the shrine.
into the shrine.
And in the reimagined version, you hear the frog voice talk to you.
Yeah.
Oh, come to me. I'm the sage of this
You
shrine.
go talk to him, and he says,
Yeah.
"Oh, put the
Here's the thing
fragments
right next
that
to
are
me.
the same color
Yeah,
as
yellow.
the pillar
Yeah.
on the thing."
Okay.
You go put those together, assemble it, and it like warps you to some other place.
So I think they skipped something like 2 hours.
Just
in that
there.
section.
So
Just there.
this whole
the
thing
shrine
is a dungeon.
Is a massive dungeon. It is a
Wow.
huge dungeon with so many freaking puzzles and things to do. It did get a little bit cumbersome at one point because I kept having to backtrack, and you cannot leave any stone unturned in this game. So you're just going everywhere, trying to do everything all the time. And there were a few points where I'd missed something, but there are so many puzzles to do. You've got to like put armor on all these things. You got to find all the shard pieces. You got to find all the keys. You've got to like balance the scales. You've got to like run through a thing in time when you open the gates in the right order. Like there's so many different puzzles you have to do in the original. And in the reimagined, you just walk up and the frog's like, oh, right there. Just put the piece in right there. And it's like, what?
Wow.
So many hours worth of content completely cut.
Wow.
But that being said, it's not like story important
It's just dungeon
content.
stuff.
It's just dungeons and puzzles. But this was a dungeon puzzle game, you know?
A dungeon without battles.
No battles. There's not a single fight.
It's all puzzles.
You don't fight a thing until you get to that new island, the new place.
Wow.
And
so
then
that
it's
would be
shocking.
your first battle. Because the
Yeah.
first battle in this version is you fight your shadows.
Yeah, the old man.
Is that in the original game?
No, it's
so
not in the
that
original.
battle doesn't exist.
Yeah, that battle doesn't exist.
That's interesting.
Yeah, totally
that
different there,
I
too.
think that is also a choice of, even though we have condensed this intro as much as we have, we still need a fight somewhere here.
Yes, but that...
Man, I feel like that's totally undercutting what the original's doing.
It does, because then it's like, oh, there are monsters and things to fight on this island. If only one knows where to seek them. You know, this old man knows where I can find a fight and adventure and go have some excitement. That does not exist in the original game. You have to leave the island before you can fight anything.
Wow.
So
okay. So here's what it's sounding like to me. It sounds like the original game was tedious for a lot of people and long.
Yeah.
But it was also very thematically intentionally done that way.
I think so. And I actually got it's a deeper philosophical game than I realized it would be after having played the demo.
Yeah.
Going back to Dragon Quest VII, I'm seeing a lot more now where I'm like, oh, they were actually doing some interesting stuff here.
Yeah.
That has more or less been removed.
So it seems that maybe some large percentage of people in critique of the game's intro maybe misunderstood that thematic intention.
I think so.
And it seems like Yuji Horii and the team have felt the pressure to sort of like undercut what they were doing there for the sake of like hoping more players would be able to flow with this pacing, vibe with this pacing, and enjoy it more, and sort of did away with their concept of, I mean, it's a tough thing. Like I understand maybe like there could have been even some arguments about this when thinking about remaking the game or whatever. And obviously they made some of these steps already in the 3DS version, which I haven't played.
They did.
But it's one of those things where it's like, do you cut those things out, or, you know, cave in and do a battle on the island in order to fix that problem? Or do you just make those puzzles more interesting and fix your pacing in other ways, but like stay true to that original idea? And again, this is not me like critiquing the reimagined game. It's me trying to inform you guys who are watching this just to understand like the differences and sort of like make a determination on that yourself.
Because I'm still going to buy this reimagined game, and I'm still going to play it.
I really liked what I played.
Yeah, me too. And more Dragon Quest is a good thing. Yeah. I'm really falling in love with this franchise.
But I'm also saying that I feel like it's going to be very important for me to go back and play the original Dragon Quest VII.
Thumbs up.
To really understand what they originally meant with that thing, and maybe what they're sacrificing here.
I think that's good.
I'm not at all saying that these cuts are necessarily bad. That's all something you have to determine yourselves. Because, you know, without knowing that, I was like, this is a really fun game, and I'm definitely going to play it.
Yeah.
But now I'm deeply, deeply interested in playing the original as well. And I felt like this is the same thing that happened to me with Persona 3. I played the Persona 3 remake first, and then I started learning about the version differences. Like, oh wow, I'm going back and playing that version. Sounds like there's stuff I'm missing in there that's important.
That's funny because I'm playing Persona 3 Portable, the PSP, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just like, man, I actually really want to play the original now.
Yeah.
So the versions that do that, it's like they have to make concessions to cater to a modern audience, but they still can kind of spark that curiosity for you to go, because the original work is always, no matter what you're doing, if you're adapting or no matter what you're doing, the original work is the original art.
Yeah.
You know, like everything, it's always just referencing that. It's a footnote to that.
Right.
That's the real thing. And anything that can act as a conduit to funnel you back into experiencing that is successful. And this game did that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We talked about that a lot with the other Dragon Quest 18 2D remakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing here. When you get off the island, from that point forward in the demo, is it more or less the same?
Yeah.
Or are there a lot of changes there too?
There's more puzzles in the mines that are not there in the demo.
Really?
The dungeon's a lot shorter. In the older version, there's the puzzles that you have to do with these different colored gems, and if two gems of the same color touch, they shatter, and you have to like do these like balancing act and figure out which way to go based on where you can push these gems. It's almost like a Candy Crush, like Tetris.
And that's all cut?
It's all cut. Yeah, it's all cut in the reimagined version. It's just fight a lot of enemies and go around, and eventually you get the thing and then come out. The puzzles are basically non-existent in this reimagined. I'm not saying there isn't any puzzle. I'm just saying the amount that they cut is so devastatingly much that I would say that they basically have eliminated the puzzle part of Dragon Quest VII, which was a big part.
Wow.
They just kind of said, well, we're done with that, which is funny because wasn't there a Dragon Quest Puzzle Masters, Dragon Quest Monsters? It was like a puzzle game?
I've never played the Dragon Quest Monster game, but...
Okay.
Or Builders. There's
was it
Quest
Builders? Okay.
I think that's what you're thinking of.
I thought, you're right, Builders might be what I'm thinking of. But either way, yeah, it's still quite different. But the general story is the same with the character, but the characters' names are all different in that village that you go to. And the name of the village, everything's different. The dialogue is crazy different, especially at this point. The things they say in the PS1 are things straight out of the 90s, and the things they say in this one are things straight out of the 2020s. Like it is what it is. They're catering to the different time periods. But I probably prefer the older one better. But the script changes are massive. And then the dungeon, it's not that different. It's just they took out the puzzles. But other than that, the dungeon's basically the same. And then the character, the story, all of that stuff. The battles you do, there is a pretty huge difference at the final battle at the end of the island when you get all the way to the end. And I won't spoil what that battle is and how it goes, but there's a pretty big difference in one specific aspect. Well, two. Actually, like five. The more I think about it, it's as different as it can be while still being recognizable as the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's just executed so wildly differently. In some ways, I actually like the reimagined version better with the way that this that island, that first island you go to, the second island after the setting, the way that it wraps up, I actually probably prefer the reimagined version better than the original. There were some missed opportunities that I wouldn't have realized in the original game that they took advantage of in this reimagined version that is, I thought was really cool with like the wooden doll and the kid and the woman and all of that stuff. It actually wraps up really nicely in the reimagined version, whereas in the original, it kind of left a weird kind of feeling in the mouth, which I think it was supposed to. It's not supposed to be clean cut the way that it all goes. It's a pretty complicated scene. But they're just different. They're very different. And I expect that these differences will continue far into the rest of the game.
That changes my suspicion because earlier I was talking about, well, maybe they just wanted to cut down the intro, and then once you're like into the game, it'll be more or less the same.
We'll see.
It's starting to sound like maybe that's not the case. Unless this second area, that you get warped to is still considered part of the intro of the game.
How long is this game? Because some people can spend over 100 hours on Dragon Quest VII, right?
The original game, I don't think it's uncommon for it to be like 150 or more.
Yeah, that's wild. So maybe I can still finish the game, I hope. But this new game might be more like 40 or 50 hours.
Okay, I guess my verdict on this would be based on only a demo and still with the, intention on playing the final version when it, releases and having further thoughts on it. It sounds like they felt like they had a pacing issue problem.
Yeah.
That people complained about.
Yeah.
And that they needed to cut it down. And their way of going about that may be disappointing for big fans of the original game.
Yeah.
They might feel like, wow, you've actually just changed in your cutting. You've butchered it.
A lot.
Right? And I think I would understand that sentiment. And maybe it's just, maybe that makes it more accessible.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes it so that people won't bounce off in the early going as much. Maybe they will end up being right in terms of that being the intention of making these changes. I think I'm going to forever wonder now, had there been a universe where they chose to double down on the choice, but just make the puzzles more compelling.
I see.
Right? The puzzles more compelling and strengthen the pacing in other ways.
Yeah.
Rather than feeling like we got to get them to that place where they can start fighting sooner.
Yeah.
I just wonder. I wonder what a Dragon Quest Reimagined would have looked like had they made that decision.
One of the things I really like about the reimagined version is that you can go into there's kind of like a log where you can read like the story up to this point, like what's happening so far. And often at the end of those, there's a little hint as to what to do next. And the original game just doesn't have anything like that. It's just like go talk to literally everyone on the island again if you don't know what to do. And that's basically when Kiefer says, you keep searching, I'll go back to the castle and research. It's like that means go talk to every NPC again. And that's
tedious.
A little too much.
That's tedious. I agree with that.
Some direction would be nice. Too much direction's bad. Not enough direction is also bad. If there was a way that, like with the log, instead of an exclamation point over everything, every place you go and everyone you need to talk to, instead, if I could reread, okay, what's happened, re-summarize what's happened up to this point, and then get a vague direction based on that, that doesn't mean I'm going to completely wrong ends of the entire island just talking to people that don't matter because I don't have a clue what to do next.
Yeah.
If there was a way they could ride that balance. I feel like maybe the 3DS actually rode that balance pretty well.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's probably important at some point in my life I play the 3DS version
3DS.
and see if it found that balance. Maybe people in the comments can let us know if they feel that was the case.
It is the balance between the reimagined and the original. It's the 3DS is tried to do both. And it got good reviews and it's
now I'm really curious about that version. Specifically on this point. Maybe I'll just play the intro of the 3DS version or something. I'm sure you can find it online
the first couple
somewhere.
hours,
and because I still got my 3DSs next to my bedside. But, play that and see if it is, where it falls. But that's it. That's it for our thoughts on the demo for Dragon Quest VII. Download it yourself. Try it out. It's about 3 or 4 hours. Not nearly as long as a lot of other RPG demos have been recently. The Persona 3 Reload demo was like 10 hours long.
That's crazy.
The Unicorn
They
Overlord,
really hook you into that game.
Yeah, the Unicorn Overlord demo was similar. It was like 8 hours long.
Yeah,
or
this one was
like
a lot
that.
shorter. This one was more like an actual demo.
Yeah, it's more like just the intro of the game.
Yeah.
Really. And so we'll have further updates on this as the game comes out and as, continue playing the original and see if they end up aligning.
Could be wrong.
If they end up aligning better.
If they do, I'd be very pleased. I'd be very happy if they do.
Yeah.
Because I understand wanting to shore up the intro, but I just hope you don't just snip the whole thing, right? You can do some snipping at the beginning so that we can, get to the rest of it quicker. But yeah, we will only time will tell. So.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace out.